Alright, so the truth is, the truth is. Hello everybody, it is Thom, and we are here for an AMA! Yay! So today we're going to be doing AMA Ask Me Anything Part 2. And just for your information, it was dead silent here all morning. And just now, as I hit record, the kids came out to play on the playground, so we might have some background screaming, as per usual. But that's okay. Alright, so last time, when we did our AMA, we got through a significant portion of the questions you guys asked, but there were still quite a few to go, so today we're going to look at the rest of those questions. And, of course, if you have any additional questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and I will get to them in a future AMA video. So, let's get started. Alright, first question is from Nadine, or possibly Nadine, or Nadine, so many possibilities. And this is not exactly a question, but says, you could talk a little bit about where you come from, and what it is you're doing for a living, or what you study, if you like. Okay, well, since you asked, I will answer. Yes, so I talked about this in previous videos, but where I come from is a small town in western Pennsylvania, and sadly it is firmly Trump country, and it's very, I would say, yeah, the general demographic is like 98% white, Christian, Republican, is the majority of people who live in that town. Now, as a kid growing up in that town, it was great. Like, there's farms all over the place. It's very countryside, and like we lived in a house that my dad built most of up in the middle of the woods. As I got older, it became a less great place, and I can only imagine what my life would have been like there if I had actually known that I was queer when I was a kid or a teen, because it's not a friendly place for that sort of thing. Like, as I've said before, there were 0 out gay or queer people in my high school, and there was one English teacher who the rumor was that he was gay, and I'm pretty sure in retrospect that he was, but like, yeah, they were like basically there are 2 teachers who I remember getting kind of mercilessly bullied by the kids, and one of them was an atheist, and the other one was supposedly gay. So, both of them kind of took it in stride and were both very cool guys, but, like, not the place for that. Anyway, I got off on a bit of a tangent there. What I am doing for a living or what I study. So, I'm not really studying anything now. I studied creative writing when I was in college. Big surprise. Yeah, my goal was always to write books and stuff like that, which I am doing, so that's good, but, you can't really make money off of that unless you're really successful. So, my day job from, like, shortly, I would say, like, right after I got out of college, I did this random computer job, and then I moved to Japan and started teaching English as a second language, and that's what the majority of my career was. So, like, until 2 years ago, I was teaching English as a second language full-time, and it's a wonderful job. Like, I loved doing it, but unfortunately, like, in your head, imagine how much you think, like, a regular teacher makes, and then lower that a lot, and you have what an ESL teacher makes. So, like, I've basically spent the majority of my adult life living, like, on or slightly below the poverty line, because you just cannot make a living being an ESL teacher, especially if you have a mountain of student debt that you need to pay back. So, yeah. So, I recently took a job writing and editing and making videos for a software company, and it pays the bills, which is good, and it's in my wheelhouse, so that's what I'm doing. That's my answer. Alright, so Sabine Thinkerbellum wants to know, What are you most excited for about your channel? Do you have plans for it? Have you ever been to Pride? Do you read fan fiction? What are your 3 favorite songs from Scum, Druk, and Heartstopper soundtracks, and why? So, regarding my channel, I'm kind of just playing it by ear at this point. Like, I don't really have any grand plans for where I think it's going to go. Like, I'm enjoying basically, like, queer media, I think, is the theme of the channel. So, yeah, I intend to continue doing things like that on this channel. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I would love it if I could interview people who are related to the things that we talk about. I've actually, like, tried to contact several authors of the books that we have talked about, and sadly, no one has been interested in coming on my little channel, but maybe someday. So, have I ever been to Pride? Yeah, so Chicago Pride, I've been there a few times. I've been to Pride a few times. Not as a group, just by myself, which is kind of a sad way to experience Pride. So I would like to go sometime with a group so I can actually have fun. But I'm not really big on crowds, even before, worldwide pandemic crowds. I get overstimulated very easily. I get, like, sensory overload. And I'm also claustrophobic and very anxious. And so, like, crowds are not my favorite thing. But for Pride, I make an exception. But yeah, I would like to go with a group sometime and have a blast. So, the end. Okay, do I read fan fiction? Not these days, and there was another question. So Dominique Carino, and I'm sorry if I'm saying your name incorrectly, also wanted to know if I write fan fiction or if I just read it. So we have 2 fan fiction related questions. So these days, I don't really read or write fan fiction, but I got my start, not my start officially, because I technically started writing long before I knew fan fiction was a thing, but, like, yeah, fan fiction, I feel like, was my school of writing before I actually studied in college, because I wrote so much fan fiction when I was in high school and college, and even after that. Like, I wrote I wrote Star Wars fan fiction when I was, like, 12 or 13. I wrote Highlander the series fan fiction after that. I wrote Fushigi Yugi, the anime that I mentioned in the last AMA, fan fiction a lot, like, to the extent that I was, like, a big name author on fanfiction.net in the Fushigi Yugi category. Oh my god. And then I wrote Tennis no Oji-sama, Prince of Tennis, another anime fan fiction after that. And, like, it's weird because I've met most of my closest friends through fan fiction, oddly. Like, the people the reason I ended up moving to Chicago after I graduated from college was because I had friends here. And the friends I met through writing fan fiction. And then friends who I made in Japan, I also met through writing fan fiction. So, like, fan fiction has been a big thing. And, like, as far as I'm concerned, like, I know some authors are like, oh, fan fiction, blah, 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 blah. I'm the opposite. Like, please write fan fiction about my stuff. Like, my dream is to go online and find some batshit insane, borderline offensive fan fiction of one of my stories. Like, that would be amazing. So, of course, nice ones would be nice too. But, yeah, so fan fiction is great. The end. As far as songs from the soundtracks, so Scum and Druk, I haven't really, like, I haven't listened to those soundtracks outside of the shows, so I can't really comment. But as for Heartstopper, Heartstopper is all over my Spotify playlists. So let me go into Spotify, and I will tell you some of my favorite songs from Heartstopper soundtrack. So I cannot just name 3, because there are so many songs that I love from the soundtrack. Obviously, Colors of You, Chef's Kiss. That was not a Chef's Kiss. Mwah, Chef's Kiss. Colors of You, amazing. Dover Beach by Baby Queen, amazing. Don't Delete the Kisses by Wolf Alice, love that one. Why Am I Like This, one of my top picks. What's It Gonna Be, the Rain Umbrella song, very, very good. Paper Mache World, Moment in the Sun. There's just so many good. Of course, Clearest Blue as well. with the Tara and Darcy kiss. Yeah, there's just a whole lot. And so the song that played in the very first trailer of Heartstopper, or no, the second trailer. Yes, the song that played, because Colors of You was the first trailer, and then yeah. So the song, it's called Young by Neon Capital.
We might be changing with the season, that's alright. As long as we can dream it, that's alright.
Yes, in conclusion, just all of it. Just it's all great. It's all good. All right, let's move on. So Thomas, good name, has a question. Actually, has a few questions. So we have, what are Darla and your other cats' personality like? What's the story of how they came to live with you? Did you always love reading, or did you come to it later in life? Do you like tea? What's your favorite tea? Oh, hey. Did you hear your... Oh, now, come on. Come on. No, don't sit on my desk. All right, I'm going to let her sit on my desk. Just on the edge here. Just right there. But if you come over here and start bumping my laptop around, or if you lay down on my mouse pad again, we're going to have a talk. Anyway, okay, so let's start with cat personalities. So Darla, as you may know, is a strange combination of bold and terrified. So she will park herself in the middle of the floor, regardless of, who is coming towards her with giant stompy boots, and she'll just lay there and expect you to step over her. She's not afraid of storms or fireworks or tornadoes, which I guess is a kind of storm. But if you scoot your chair back and it makes a noise, she will leap to her feet and race across the room, terrified. So, yeah. But yeah, she's great, but very high maintenance. Darla spends the majority of the time when she is awake asking for attention, whether it's meowing or laying on my desk or scratching at my chair or things like that. Whereas Benny is an older gentleman, and he's been with me since 2012. I got him at a no-kill shelter in Chicago in 2012, and he's been with me this whole time, obviously. And yeah, he's more... He's a timid man. So, which means that Darla bullies him all the time. And when we lived in Virginia, my roommate had a cat as well, a kitten. And, the two of them would just terrorize poor Benny. Jump on him and chase him. And, Darla does a thing where when they're about to get fed, Darla is always hangry. And so she will take this out on Benny, either by jumping on him or just smacking him every time he walks by. So she's a little bit of a bully, and poor Benny is just a very sweet old man, with the most grating meow in the world. So Darla's meow is meow meow, Benny's meow is growl, like that. So I apologize for this is the face Darla is making. Okay, she stopped making the face, but she was making a face at me when I made that sound. But anyway, those are my cats. Okay, and did you always love reading, or did you come to it later in life? No, I have loved reading since before I was able to read, because my mom always read to me, and then after that, I got super into reading and writing. I wrote my first story when I was about 5, and it was not, written, but verbally spoken to my mother, who typed it up. And it was a horror story about kids getting murdered in a haunted house. So, thankfully, my mom did not, fear for me that I was writing this kind of story, and instead just celebrated my creativity. And the story was read to all of my relatives, and they all were like, yay, good job. So, yeah, thankfully they didn't find it in any way strange that Murder House was my first story, but... Okay, do I like tea? Do I like tea? Do I like tea? I love tea. Unfortunately, so I love tea. Tea is wonderful, but unfortunately, I am really sensitive to caffeine. Yeah, I'm telling you. No, you may not walk over here. I'm really sensitive to caffeine, so I can no longer have caffeinated tea, or if I do, it's once in a very long while, and then I suffer. But yeah, part of it is my anxiety. Like, it tends to, because I'm so sensitive, it hypes me up too much, and I can have like a panic attack as a result, and we don't want that. So basically, I drink herbal tea and decaf tea, and once in a long while, I will have decaf coffee, which I used to love coffee, but even decaf coffee has too much caffeine for me. So that's my story. But as far as my favorite teas, I love Japanese green tea, any variety. And the other tea that I drink is this, I want to say it's caramel vanilla rooibos, so a red tea, which means no caffeine, which I have with almond milk and a little bit of agave to sweeten it. So, all right, and then Stephen Nickel also wanted to know about Benny, which I talked about already. And then we talked about the fan fiction question. Okay, and then back to Sabine. Sabine Thinkerbellum had another question. This one was from Twitter. But how do you choose the books you want to read? Reading lists, recommendations, because the library has it, etc. So, initially, when I was first looking for queer books, I would just Google queer young adult books or queer trans books or things like that, and then, scroll through the things they suggested and then look them up and decide if I wanted to read them or not. Now, I tend to be able to just, bounce from one to the other because of recommendations. So, Amazon in particular, I don't usually get my books from Amazon. I usually get them from the library. But Amazon is very useful because it will recommend books that are similar to books that you've read before. So, usually what I do is, I'll read a book, and then I'll look on the, suggested for you or based on your recent readings. And Kindle does that as well. So I'll look in my Kindle for recommendations, and then I'll look up those books. And, since I started getting ebooks through the library, I've been reading a lot, a wider variety of books, because there are books that I'm this looks like it might be okay, but I don't want to pay money for it and have it forever when I might hate it. Whereas if it's the library, I'd be like, yeah, sure, bring it on, all of it, bring it all in. So so that's how I come across new books to read. So, and the book I am reading at this moment, for anyone who's interested, which I'm probably gonna finish pretty soon, but for right now, I'm reading Stay Gold by Tobley something. I will put it on the screen. All right, Snoopy J wanted to know, so is Mr. Rogers an inspiration for your videos? And the Tom Hanks movie, would you say that's an accurate movie for describing your hero? For those who aren't familiar with Mr. Rogers, he was a TV show host, though really he was so much more. But he did a kids program called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for 20 years or something like that. And a lot of kids in the U.S. grew up with his program. The overwhelming theme of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is kind of self-love and also loving others and being kind to them. So, kindness, acceptance, diversity. He had, people from all different countries, all different ethnicities on the show regularly. He had kids with all kinds of physical ailments, kids in wheelchairs, kids with, braces on their legs, kids with, blind people, deaf people, just everyone. He wanted everyone to come together and, exist and be friends. The idea of just people coming together and accepting each other for who they are and accepting yourself for who you are, that is magical. So that's a big reason why he is one of my heroes. But as for the movie with Tom Hanks, it was fine. It was okay. But there's a documentary about Mr. Rogers that came out a few years before the Tom Hanks movie, and that one I think is better. Obviously it's more accurate because it's actually, him.
He was radical. I know everyone says that, but he was radical.
They didn't want black people to come and swim in their swimming pools. My being on the program was a statement for Fred.
He had a singular vision of kindness and love.
Children have very deep feelings, just the way everybody does. There must be times when you do feel blue. I'm not feeling blue right now, though.
Me neither.
The the Tom Hanks movie was good, but it didn't feel quite as authentic. And yeah, they made some choices that I thought were a little strange, but yeah, I definitely recommend the documentary though, or just go on YouTube and you can watch. Actually, there's a website, mrrogers.org, I want to say, where you can watch. I want to say you can watch like five episodes for free, and they change it every 2 weeks or something like that. But there's lots of episodes of his out there. So like I will say that the first time I watched a Mr. Rogers episode as an adult, I broke down crying because like I was having a rough time, and as a queer trans person, having someone, and the thing with Mr. Rogers is he always looks like directly into the camera, like he's talking to you. And having him look at me, look into my eyes, and say, like, who you are is enough. I like you just the way you are. That message just, like, just struck me straight through the heart, and I just cried. So
I like you just the way you are.
So if you're in a vulnerable position, beware. He might bring out the old tears. Yeah, and like, as I said before, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was on for a really long time. I think the earlier episodes he's still kind of trying to get his footing. I definitely prefer the slightly later ones. Like, the ones from the 80s and 90s are the best. But yeah, check them out. All right, so next question from Mafuyu Supremacy. What is your favorite food and least favorite? I'm tempted to say pizza, because I love pizza. Oh, hi, Darla. Darla's back again. Hi. I'm tempted to say pizza because I love pizza. I like sushi, the veggie kinds, obviously, because I don't eat fish. And I love Indian food and Mexican food and just food in general. Though I have a lot of like weird digestive issues and like acid reflux and stuff, so I can't eat a lot of the stuff that I like. But yeah, I like a lot of food. As far as food that I don't like, so I'm really not good with spicy food, which I know I just said I like Indian food, but I like the mild Indian food. And yeah, so I just like I can handle a little bit of spice, but it's just not enjoyable for me. Like, I want to be able to eat my food and not be in pain. So I know that's crazy, but that's how I am. Yeah, so foods I don't like. I don't like grapefruit. I don't like kiwi. It's a texture thing for me. And I like onion and garlic, but I can't eat them because of the aforementioned stomach issues. So, yes, that is my story. All right. Oh, hello. Darla licking my knee. Okay, back to Sabine Thinkerbellum, another question. So I noticed that your Volume 1 of Heartstopper is different from Volume 2 through 4. Why is that? Have you been a backer of Alice on Kickstarter? When did you learn about the webcomic? Yes, so keen-eyed viewers may have noticed that the Heartstopper Volume 1 is larger and a different style than Heartstoppers 2 through 4. And there's no, like, special reason for this. I was not an original backer of Alice. I only started reading Heartstopper about a month before the show came out. And I started reading it because the advertising for the show directed me to the comics. And I was like, oh, what's this? Queer comics? Yes, please. Yeah, so I'm not one of the OGs, sadly. The only reason this one is different is because when I ordered the series, for some reason, they sent me the UK version for Volume 1 and the US Canada version for 3 through 4 or 2 through 4. So they're just a different size and a different style from country to country. So that is the only reason for that. Okay. All right. So we move on to Sean Megan, who asks, "What was your favorite meal growing up? What was your first fandom? And the question, how old are you?" So we'll save that last one for last. What was your favorite meal growing up? So I loved the school cafeteria's chicken over biscuits. And that was, yeah, of course I loved pizza back then as well. But yeah, the chicken over biscuit, or my grandma would make chicken and waffles with gravy and oh, so good. yeah, so I no longer eat chicken, but I have definitely made a vegan version of the chicken and waffles, and very good. Yeah, so love that gravy. My first fandom, I want to say Star Wars because that was the first thing that I was really into, and that was when I was 11 or 12, but the internet was not really a thing back then, which is a clue to the age that I'm going to tell you in a minute. So I can't really I wasn't really in a fandom. I was just by myself in my room and with my friends enjoying Star Wars. But yeah, that was probably my first fandom. And my first, like, involved in the fandom was Highlander, the series. So, and then after that, anime and stuff like that. So, okay, now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Probably not. But on the community tab over on my channel, we asked the question, how old do you think Thom is? Because more than one of you asked this question in the AMA. So we're gonna answer it today. Finally, the answer will be revealed. Okay, so first let's look through some of the answers that you guys gave, which were quite flattering. Okay, so we had 27, 25, between 21 and 31, 29, 33, 32 or 33, 35, born in 1988, 37, 30-something, 33, let's see, 32 but looks 25, 35, 36, 40, early 30s, 32.5, 32, 39. So yeah, you guys were basically on the right track. So all right, so the truth is, yeah, I'm 39. So yeah, actually, but not for much longer, because next month in October I'm turning 39 plus 1, which is fine. And if you're older than me, please don't think that I'm calling you old, but I'm sure you remember your own reactions to growing older. Like, anytime you start a new decade, it's kind of like a existential crisis kind of situation. Yeah, so that is my age. And, but I don't feel that age, I think probably because, like, being a queer person who doesn't know they're queer until after high school, you kind of miss those formative experiences, and so you kind of start late. And then being a trans person who doesn't realize they're trans until later in life, you kind of start again. So, like, in terms of how I feel, I would place myself around, like, 25 or 26 in terms of, like, where I am in my life and how much I still have to accomplish in terms of, like, living my life. Because just so much of my life, it wasn't wasted, but I couldn't live it as myself. So, yeah, so I am 39, but mentally and socially, I am probably much younger. All right, so that is the end of our AMA session for today. I thank you very much if you have stuck with me all this time. And yeah, if you have any other questions, let me know. Oh, one of the questions, which was not an AMA question, was about the trans flag up here. It was a late Christmas gift, which I received at my name change party. It's actually a tote bag, but I have 1,000 tote bags, so I thought, you know what? This would be better as a flag on the wall, because there's actually a store not far from here that sells, like, pride flags, but they are massive. Like, you think this is big? This is small. If I got one of those flags, it would cover the whole bookshelf, essentially. So I thought, oh, this will be a good way to kind of, like, get the trans pride feeling in there without actually spending money on something. So, okay, anyway. Alright, so thank you for all of your wonderful questions. Thank you for watching my videos and being amazing. I would love to hear your comments, and again, if you have any additional questions, feel free to let me know. You don't have to, but if you have any, let me know. As always, feel free to follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Twitch, And yeah, that's all I have to say. So I will see you next time, and have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever. Okay, bye.